Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Geno Smith has just been released by the Las Vegas Raiders. My name is Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report. And if that news fires you the F up, then hit that like button right now. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you how much money the Raiders are going to save by moving on from Geno. I'm going to tell you why ultimately he was released by the Silver and Black. We're going to look at some potential free agent quarterback options based on a report that came out and based on the common knowledge for anybody that has followed this team. If you didn't see the news that happened yesterday, the Raiders, they tendered several different players. I'm going to talk about those players. And then at the very, very end of today's show, the latest around Maxx Crosby. And I'm going to throw out a crazy scenario. A crazy scenario. Hey man, I'm here. It's actually technically my off day, but I am here in the studio because I knew that some Raiders news was going to end up going down. But that's why I want y'all to hit that subscribe button. It's why I want you to turn on those notifications because NFL free agency week, man, it's one of the craziest weeks here for Raider Nation, and I don't want you to miss anything. What's wild? Friday before free agency last season, the Raiders traded for Geno Smith. The Friday before free agency this season, the Las Vegas Raiders have moved on from Geno Smith. Back-to-back years, Klint Kubiak was thinking that, hey, he was going to join a team. Now, I think he knew deep down that Geno wasn't going to be a part of this organization this year. But, he joined Seattle last season, back-to-back. I think that shows Klint Kubiak, no bueno on Mr. Geno. So, when you look at this move, some people are going to ask, Mitch, why should we be fired up about it? Some people are going to see the dead cap hit, $18.5 million. That's money that Mark Davis has to deal with. Mark's got plenty of money to be able to figure out. For the Raiders fans, we save an additional $8 million. Now, there was some speculation out there that the Raiders could potentially trade Geno, and they were shopping him like crazy. I mean, I even know one team reached out in regards to Geno, and the Raiders even tried to send draft capital to that one football team and Geno Smith. And that other team said, no, thank you. Why? Because if you would have had to trade for Geno, then you were going to take on his entire contract. $26 million, lot of money for Geno Smith. The Raiders were willing to offer that other draft compensation because it would have saved them essentially $18 million. So let's say hypothetically, you were to trade a fifth or a fourth round pick to a team. That fourth or fifth round pick could be worth $18 million that you could use in NFL free agency. No team ended up rolling the dice and pulling the trigger on Geno to make the deal because multiple reasons. The biggest reason, every NFL team out there knew that Geno Smith didn't want to be a part of the Raiders. Geno, his team, his agents, they've been making this very, very known for months. I put out a video probably 4 months ago saying that Geno Smith will find a way out or the Raiders are going to end up releasing him. I had Geno Smith family members, or at least people who claimed to be family members of Geno, telling me back in November when he flipped off all of us Raiders fans out there. I don't know why I'm afraid. I literally started this show with two middle birds. When he flipped off all the Raiders fans out there, and they were like, he's done with you. And I get it. Chip Kelly was a disaster. He got an F grade on the Raiders report card. Pete Carroll was an absolute disaster, but I also think when you're a quarterback of a football team and you get that C on your chest, the way that you handle yourself on and off the field is very important. On the field, he was an absolute just disaster. Awful body language on the sideline. Like, to me, if my quarterback throws an interception, especially if you throw 17 of them as often as you did, Geno, and the moments that you threw them in, I want to see my quarterback on the sideline looking at an iPad, figuring out, talking to his players, how we can get better. All we ever saw Geno Smith do on the sideline was pout like a little baby back, you know what. So then, that Geno Smith is feeling that type of way. Then he's flipping off fans. He's trying to get fans, thrown out of the stadium. Why are you allowed to say F you to us? And some people might be like, Mitch, let's move on already. And you're not totally wrong. I can't wait for this 2026 offseason. But at the same time, I don't know if I've ever disliked a Raiders player more than I disliked Geno Smith based on the way that he handled himself. Because if a guy like Gorilla Rilla, and again, maybe I'm going a little bit too crazy here, but if a guy like Gorilla Rilla says, hey, Geno, and you totally ignore him and you ignore the entire fan base after that team gave you all the money, the extension that they did, and you didn't still show up and show out, I think that just shows the type of human being that Geno Smith is. Now, I know I'm already blocked on all places social media when it comes to Geno, and I don't really care because I don't blame him for really blocking me. Because what Geno Smith proved to me is he can't handle the heat. He can't handle the heat. He got paid the big bucks. He can go look for the big bucks elsewhere because I know this. He's not going to be a member of the Las Vegas Raiders. So what I want to know from you down below is this. Give me your one-word reaction, or you know what? F the one-word reaction. If you could say anything you wanted to right now to Geno, what would you say to him? You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, you're free to vent. And I think all Raiders fans should be free to vent down below. And I'm going to tell you exactly why here in just a moment. Raider fans should be able to vent about Geno Smith because, again, this is an entertainment. The reason why players in the NFL are making the amount of money that they are making is because, at the end of the day, this is an entertainment. Was anybody entertained by watching Geno Smith on or off the field? I know this. I personally was not. Definitely was not. But also at the exact same time, Raider Nation is a loyal fan base. And when you show up and show out every single day, we expect that commitment to excellence. And if you look at the 2025 Raiders, I always say teams take on the identity of their leaders. The 2025 Raiders took on the identity of Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. An absolute, and I mean an absolute cluster. So let's go to some of the reasons why Geno was ultimately released. The biggest reason, let's face the facts, he was awful this past season. I don't even think he was a top 30 quarterback overall. Turned the football too much. Never really got comfortable in his offense. Though don't get me wrong, the offensive line didn't do him any favors, but there was a lot of times this season where Geno Smith had the longest time to throw in the National Football League. Think about that for a second. I know a lot of people just jumped the gun, but Geno was purposely taking sacks to not throw incompletions. Like, I remember times where Geno would roll out to the right, and he would purposely run out of bounds, take a loss of 8 because he didn't want it to impact his completion percentage. Watching Geno from top to bottom, he was a bad leader. That's one of the reasons why they're moving on from him. Obviously, Pete Carroll was fired. That's why they're moving on from him. You save $8 million. That's why you're moving on from him. He wanted to be out of Las Vegas. That's been known for months. That's why they moved on from him. He deleted all things Raiders on his social media months ago. That's another reason to be able to add. But I really do think like one of the biggest reasons why you have to move on from Geno Smith is because 2026 has got to be this new brand of era. We got to be able to look forward, and we got to be able to know that we're moving in the right direction. And I think when you move in the right direction, you got to get rid of all the bad. And unfortunately, however you want to shake it out, whatever you want to say, Geno Smith was a cancer to the Las Vegas Raiders. And I don't use that word lightly. I want to be very clear on that. Geno was a cancer. You had to get rid of the cancer to get it going in the right direction moving forward. Let's talk about the next topic here on today's program, because I have said probably 100 times on this show, expect for the Las Vegas Raiders to sign a quarterback in NFL free agency. I talked about some quarterback options in the combine. I've already put out a video who I believe is the perfect QB option to sign in NFL free agency. But I do believe you have to look at this in a few buckets, because I'm telling you right now, I think I just saw Diana tweet out that the Raiders are expected to sign a quarterback. And I know that there was some speculation at the combine, and there might be, that Fernando Mendoza, even if he's drafted number 1 overall, he might not start week 1. But I also think that's coach speak, because at this moment right now, it would not be smart to put Fernando Mendoza on the field right now. But we have free agents. We have the draft. If we're confident in the offensive line, if we're confident in our team, if we're confident in Fernando Mendoza, he's going to be the week 1 starter of the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Just kind of like what Kubiak said a few weeks ago, like, oh, we're still, kind of evaluating Geno. We knew what the evaluation was going to be, right? Nobody watching this show right now ever thought Geno Smith was going to be back. Now, don't get me wrong. There's other people that cover the Raiders that said, hey, they think that Geno's going to come back. But the reason why I want people to watch this show, I'm always going to give you my God-honest opinion. Some people are going to like it. Some people aren't going to like it. But I hope that at the end of the day, people know I do follow this team really closely, but I also like to interact with people. I'm not afraid to give my God-honest opinion, and that's just the way that I think good relationships are ultimately formed. You're not always going to agree with me. I'm not always going to agree with you, but at the end of the day, I know the Raider Nation's got my back. I got y'all back. That's why I'm making a video here on my off day. So let's talk about some of these different options that the Raiders could potentially look at the quarterback position. First off, I'm going to go with some guys that have Kubiak ties, and one of these quarterbacks is the top QB that I would go out and get. Case Keenum, number 1 guy I would get. Some people are like, why the hell would you get Case Keenum? Because I'm a believer that Fernando Mendoza is going to be able to start week 1. I do. I believe Mendoza is good enough. I believe he's going to be sharp enough. I know Tom Brady and John Spytek don't want to throw him to the wolves. They want to help him learn. They want to help him get better. But if I believe in Mendoza. I'll leave it like that. So for that reason, I would look at a Case Keenum, somebody who's played in multiple Kubiak systems, somebody who knows his exact role, because where the Raiders quarterback depth chart stands right now, you got Fernando Mendoza. He's going to be your number one overall pick. And it's Aiden O'Connell. Nobody else is there. The Raiders last offseason traded for Kenny Pickett. He's a free agent. I don't see him coming back, especially because he's number 15, right? Can't bring him back at number 15. You got to give him a new jersey. So you got Fernando Mendoza, and you got Aiden O'Connell. I believe in Aiden O'Connell. I've always believed in Aiden. Hell, I think Aiden is an outstanding quarterback, too, to really help a young quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. And, let's be clear. If we're going to roll with, a veteran's got to start, why can't Aiden O'Connell go out there and do what some of these other QBs are doing? I personally wouldn't recommend it. I personally would still say, let's roll with Fernando Mendoza. But I think in my heart of hearts, with all the other holes that we have on this team, offense, defense, signing Case Keenum to a cheap quarterback contract, letting him be the quarterback 3, letting him help Aiden and Fernando Mendoza understand and learn the Kubiak offense. Now, he was in it back in 2018. He had a little bit of overlap there, but he's played in a lot of different systems. On top of that, Case Keenum comes from Houston. Maybe that doesn't say anything to y'all, but the Kubiak family is based in Houston. So, a lot of different little ties in that regard. But Keenum would be the person that I would add, because I also believe in Aiden O'Connell if we wanted to go down the road of let's let Fernando Mendoza sit back and learn from a year, because I've also seen Aiden play good football, and I do wonder, was Aiden just really bad last season? And really bad is maybe not fair. Now, I'd say Aiden O'Connell was better than Geno Smith, but also every single Raiders quarterback struggled last season. Chip Kelly, this offense, everything was very, very bad. I've also always said Aiden kind of reminds me of a Dollar General version, AOC, of Jared Goff. And I think Jared Goff is a very interesting West Coast style play action quarterback, and that's really going to play favor into a guy like Klint Kubiak. But again, if you go out and you spend big at the quarterback position, it just takes money away from your offense, takes money away from your defense. And because I believe in Aiden O'Connell and Fernando Mendoza enough, I personally would sign a quarterback like Case Keenum. Let's go to another option if you're looking for more depth. Brett Rippon has got some overlap with Kubiak in 2022. If the Raiders go, we need a starting quarterback, I think your two options are Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. And that's kind of how I'm going to leave it. Though also, Kyler Murray could be another option. And some people might be like, nah, I don't want Kyler. And I've been very big on, I don't believe Kyler is the best leader, just based on some of the things that I've heard down in this area. Kyler lives down here in this area, and, he went to high school down here. I know people that went to high school with Kyler. I know people that went to college with Kyler. I haven't heard anything good in terms of him being a leader. Outstanding football player, outstanding athlete. Not the best leader. I want to have a good leader. But also at the exact same time, do you all remember a few years ago, probably 2 years ago, when Russell Wilson signed a $1.2 million deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers? That would be the option for Kyler Murray. You could bring Kyler in on a $1.2 million deal, and that could be your starter for a season. That's kind of an intriguing option to me. Aaron Rodgers still really hasn't let the Pittsburgh Steelers know whether or not he's going to be coming back, and that could be another option. Hell, Rodgers has shown some interest in the Raiders before. Mark Davis has shown some interest in him before. Max has said before that he wants Aaron Rodgers to be the QB here. Kirk Cousins is another option. He spent 3 seasons with Klint Kubiak, all 3 of those years. Only one of those years Kubiak was the OC, which was 2021. But all 3 of those years where Kubiak was on an offensive staff, when Kirk Cousins was the quarterback from 2019 to 2021, he had an over 100 passer rating. Cousins, some of the best ball that he ever played was in Minnesota with Kubiak. I think the only pause for concern there is Cousins wasn't thrilled about being a mentor to Michael Penix Jr., and I don't know if Cousins is going to want to do it. Plus, you're probably going to have to pay Kirk Cousins $25 million per year. It's a lot of money for Kirk. And I don't know if he's all that much better than Fernando Mendoza. Other options in terms of mentors, if you will, Joe Flacco, 42 years old. There's a lot of people that compare Mendoza to Flacco when they were first coming out. Flacco coming out of Delaware, I watched him really, really closely. One of my buddies actually was a quarterback for Rutgers many years ago, and then he ended up transferring to Delaware, kind of similar timing right around Flacco. But then also, Derek Carr. I'll say this right now. If the Raiders are watching this video, if you end up trading away Maxx Crosby, and I'm going to talk about a crazy scenario here at the end of the show. If you end up trading away Maxx Crosby, I think the 2 best PR moves that you can do as an organization, number 1, sign Khalil Mack and help have Khalil mentor the young edge rusher that you end up drafting with the capital that you get from Maxx. The other thing you could do, see if Derek Carr is willing to come back. See if he's willing to come back. See if he's willing to be a mentor to Fernando Mendoza. Seeing if he's willing to play for one season with the Las Vegas Raiders, if that's really what we truly want to do. But if you're looking for a PR move, now again, Derek, I'm saying like 1, maybe 2 years, you're making $5 million max. Like, you got to know your role. And the role is that you're going to help Mendoza, and you're going to put Raider Nation first. You're going to put the Raiders first to help them succeed going forward. If Derek Carr is looking for $20, $30 million, I ain't interested. And it's also because he didn't play football last season. Like, when you don't play football for an entire year, you're going to look rusty. And I would love to see DC back in the silver and black. I would love for DC to retire a Raider. But to me, if the Raiders are looking at free agent quarterback options, I would sign Case Keenum, because I believe in Mendoza and I believe in Aiden O'Connell. Before we get into some of the other news that ended up going down yesterday, if you guys don't know, we just launched a brand new Raiders Report shop, and I'm going to put that link for you guys down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/RR shop. Essentially, if you're looking for Raiders Reports hats, I know I got a Chat Sports hat on right now, but Raiders Report hat, Raiders Report shirt, Raiders Report hoodie, you want a Fernando Mendoza shirt, we got them. Like, if you're looking for Raiders gear, I promise you, Raiders Report gear, we got you covered. The other reason why I want people to get Raiders Report gear, well, 2 reasons. One, I want y'all to see Jeremy Chuggs as a model. And I don't know how we did it. I don't know if it's AI. It happened when I was at the NFL Combine. But go to chatsports.com/RR shop. Again, that's down in the comments, down in the description. Check out Jeremy Chuggs as a model. It's unbelievable. The other reason, at the end of the day, I'm a believer that if you got Raiders Report gear on and you see another Raiders fan rocking it, we're a big family. We've been able to grow this community. Go up and introduce yourself in person. Going to that San Jose event, being out at the Combine, being at the Super Bowl, the more and more Raider fans that I see interacting with each other that are Raiders Report fans, again, you don't got to be blood to be family, and I want to continue to grow this Raiders Report family. Let's go to some of the other news that ended up happening yesterday. The Raiders, they tendered 3 exclusive rights free agents. Now, depending on like how many years they've been in the league, depending on how much they're going to get paid, usually exclusive rights free agents make somewhere between $960K and the vet minimum. So it's like $1.03 million. Now, you might get a few extra incentives in there for workouts, but the Raiders, they tendered first. It was, the first name I saw, at least I should say, was Charles Snowden, defensive end. But he's kind of an interesting fit in the 3-4 because he's a long, lanky, outside linebacker, defensive end type of hybrid. Did have 3 sacks last season, is a big-time favorite inside of that locker room. Still waiting a little bit to see if he's going to get in trouble for his DUI case in 2024. I thought that there would be some issues with that this past season, but maybe, everything's all good. I don't know. Another guy that they tendered, offensive lineman Will Putnam. Putnam tried to play center last year, and it was probably the worst center tape I have ever seen. But the way I'm trying to be, I think when you look at the offensive line tape from last year, we just got to take everything with a grain of salt, right? Putnam is a young player. He needs to learn. If you don't have the proper coaching because Brennan Carroll is Brennan Carroll and Pete's just too much of a grandpa at this point to discipline his kids, I think it's kind of unfair to say, oh, Will Putnam's a bad player. But what Putnam provides is extra depth at that center position, and he also helps you out potentially at left guard and potentially at right guard. But I think he's mainly a center here for the Raiders in just terms of depth. The other player that the Raiders brought back was Tristan McCullum, strong safety. He's like 6'3", 195 pounds. He's a good athlete, not very good in coverage. I want to say he played like 145 snaps last season for the Las Vegas Raiders. At least that's the top number that just popped into my brain. Double check me on it, but I think it was 145. He's a good run defender. He could stop the run. You don't really want him to use him too much as a coverage guy. I would say he's like the Dollar General version, honestly, of an Isaiah Paul-Lamau. Does provide you a little bit more stability in terms of special teams if you want to use him in that regard. But undrafted free agent in 2022 out of Sam Houston State. Played with the Philadelphia Eagles. I actually also believe the Houston Texans as well, a little bit mixed in there. So because the Raiders have some of these guys like Anthony Patch and Brandon Graham in our front office that come from Howie Roseman in Philadelphia that we added last offseason, could be an extra reason why they decided to keep McCullum around. But overall, I thought when he needed to play, he played better than what I expected. It still wasn't great play, but he did play better than what I expected. So those were the three players that the Raiders ended up extending in terms of, not extending, tendered, and they are exclusive rights free agents. So I would say combined, that's probably about $3 million against the salary cap. But the Raiders, they just cut Geno Smith, so then you save an extra $8 million. So whatever number you see on Over the Cap or Spotrac, I'm going to say you could probably add about $5 million to that in terms of the projected number. Like, I would expect to see like 93, 94, 95, somewhere in that regard for the Las Vegas Raiders right now in terms of how much salary cap they have going into NFL free agency. Let's wrap up today's show with a little Maxx Crosby stuff. And according to Diana Russini, Maxx Crosby is drawing serious interest around the league. The Dallas Cowboys are closely monitoring the situation and remain very interested. For those that do not know, Max's family is down here in the Dallas area, though it was reported yesterday by Jane Slater that she didn't believe that Dallas was going to give up 2 first-round picks. I'm not saying that Jane's not a good source. She actually did some work for Chat Sports a few years ago. She was always very nice, and she knows my wife. Like, again, she's very, very well connected in Dallas. But also, I was also told by a source that the Cowboys have already offered 2 first-round picks to the Raiders for Maxx Crosby, and this happened before. Some of you might be going, well, Mitch, why isn't the trade already done? The Raiders are going to wait, I would say probably until Sunday maybe. I don't think Monday. I think that's too close. I would say Sunday. They're probably going to let NFL teams know, hey, I want a Micah Parsons level type of deal. Or whoever, if you offer me Micah Parsons level type of deal, Maxx Crosby's yours. Or I'm going to wait until, let's just say it's 4 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. Whatever the best deal is by that time, that's what we're doing. So very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Geno Smith just tweeted, thank you, Lord. Yeah, thank you, Lord, you're gone, Geno. I couldn't agree more. I would love to be able to tweet at him, but wait, I don't even know if I can. Thank you, Lord. I don't think I can. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. I forgot he blocked me. I already knew it. It is what it is. It was worth a shot. So here's the other part, though, this Diana Russini report. While the Dallas Cowboys are closely monitoring the situation. I know I saw Geno pop up on my timeline. I'm like, that mother effer. The situation will remain very interested. Here's a new team, and I know that this was a team poking around, but this is like really the first time I've heard them in the last 24 hours. While the Baltimore Ravens are also a team to watch. The Ravens are a team that's probably trying to go in this win-now mode. They got a brand new head coach. You know for a fact that Jesse Minter comes from the Chargers. He's seen a lot of Maxx Crosby. The Raiders were obviously interested in him as well. But for Jesse Minter to be able to get Maxx over there to Baltimore, a team that they're probably looking at this window right now saying, hey, we need to be able to compete in the AFC. We need to be able to capitalize on Lamar Jackson's final, maybe glory years, if you will. I would say he's probably got 3 to 4, 5 really good years left in him, and that's probably what Maxx Crosby's dealing with as well. But this is good news for Raiders fans, and I say that because at the end of the day, if Maxx is dealt, you want to get the most draft capital as humanly possible. You want to get the best deal humanly possible. So the more and more teams that are interested, like I know the Chicago Bears, the Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions, Dallas Cowboys, now insert the Baltimore Ravens and also the Philadelphia Eagles are another team to keep in mind. And when you got teams like that, teams that are in the hunt right now for that Super Bowl, and especially after the Rams just did a giant deal for Trent McDuffie, there's going to be teams that are just trying to keep up pace. Also the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are another team in there that I've been told has been very interested in Maxx Crosby. So really, really interesting. But I told all y'all I'm going to hit you with this scenario because I started thinking about it late last night. I know Maxx has been, pretty quiet and nobody really truly knows what's going to happen. I know what I've been told, and I still believe that Maxx Crosby will be traded before NFL free agency. But I also remember last offseason, and I remember a situation revolving Myles Garrett, where it was all like Myles Garrett wants to play for a winner. He's going to be traded. He's going to be traded. He's going to be traded. And then all of a sudden, boom, big-time NFL contract extension. 4 years, it was like $40 million per year, and the whole thing was guaranteed. When you look at Maxx Crosby's contract, I do think that there was some premeditatedness, I don't know if that's a word, to Max's deal, right? he has 5 years on his contract, and they front-loaded it. $38 million, $32 million from 2027 to 2029, $0 million guaranteed. I wonder if Maxx Crosby and his team, this would be a hell of a way to get him a bigger payday, and Max obviously wants to get paid. He's made that very clear that I think money is a big-time focal point for where he is at in his career. Imagine if Max is drawing up all this trade rumors, if his team's leaking stuff left and right, because he just wants to be a Raider for life, but he wants a brand new contract. Because when you look at what Max is making per year over the next 4 years, it's about $30 million. Danielle Hunter just got $40 million 1 year. Myles Garrett's getting $40 million. Will Anderson's about to get $45. Micah Parsons is getting $48. Again, I'm not saying I've heard anything about this, but I thought about this last night, and I was like, if I get an opportunity today to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. But I do wonder, imagine if the Raiders said, all right, Max, you got 4 years left on your contract, because Max's 2027 becomes fully guaranteed on the third day of the new league year, so that's March 13th. What if the Raiders said, all right, the final 4 years, we're going to give you a pay bump. We're going to give you $40 million per year over the next 4 years, and we're going to fully guarantee it. As a Raiders fan, I think people got to wonder if that could be a ploy. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I also don't know if that's actually the best for Raider Nation, because we're looking at all this salary cap. We want to be able to build the right way. We've given Max all these extensions, and it's never resulted into wins. I know that 98 means a lot to the Raider Nation, but I would rather the Raiders trade away Maxx Crosby at this current moment in his career than giving him a big-time deal like Myles Garrett got last year from the Cleveland Browns. Just something to think about, because I've had a great working relationship with Max. I've had a great working relationship with the Crosby family. I've had a great working relationship with a lot of people that I think are close to Max. I've been told, to kind of like, hey, let him go this week. Don't bother him this weekend. Totally fine. I respect him. I respect everybody that has, been able to talk to me about Max as long as they have. But I do also wonder, is this just him and his team doing some magician work to help him get a bigger bag this offseason from the Raiders? Because I'll tell you this, when he gets traded, if he gets traded, for those of you that still don't think it's going to happen, he's going to get a brand new contract with whatever team he ends up getting traded with. So whether he gets traded to a new team, gets a new deal, or the Raiders maybe give him that deal, the Raiders might have to give him a little bit more money. It's just something to think about. Now, I know this video is a little bit of a long one, but hey, I was excited to talk to y'all about Geno Smith getting cut. I also wanted to just be able to break down a few other things that have happened over the last 24 hours. I'll see y'all later. Obviously, if any other Raiders news ends up going down, you already know. I'm going to keep you up to date. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the notifications are turned on. I can't wait to see the comments down below of what y'all had to say to Geno Smith. For more news and updates around the silver and black, make sure you click that subscribe button right there. I promise you, free agency's going to be wild, man. Can't wait. More videos from me and my team here. You can click on one of these bad boys, or you can click on one of these bad boys right here. I promise you, we're going to do our best to keep the nation up to date and, most importantly, entertained.